Jumoke, how do you think the city looks? I think it's big, Bola. Jumoke said, her eyes lighting up with excitement. Bigger than we can ever imagine. And when we get there, we will make it ours. Jumoke and Bola were as close as sisters. From the moment they could walk, their friendship grew in the small close-knit community. The village was simple, with red-earth roads and children's laughter echoing in the air. Jumoke's playful energy contrasted with Bola's thoughtful calmness, yet they fit together like puzzle pieces. Jumoke always had big dreams. She spoke of becoming someone important, someone whose name people would remember. While Bola imagined herself sewing dresses for village weddings. Promise me one thing, Bola. Promise me we'll always be friends, no matter where life takes us. Always, Bola replied. Even when you are a big madam in the city, I will always be your best friend. Bola and Jumoke would spend time playing in the mango groves and nights lying under the stars, dreaming about the future. As children, it felt like nothing could come between them. The future was far away, and their bond seemed unshakable. Their mothers often chuckled at the sight of them. Those two are like twins. Bola's mother would say, if you see one, the other isn't far. In those carefree days, the world was full of possibility. Their friendship was a fortress, and the idea of anything disrupting it seemed impossible. The world outside the village called to them, and Jumoke and Bola answered in their own ways. Jumoke's academic brilliance earned her a scholarship to Lagos, where she pursued a degree in business. Bola moved to Abeokuta to learn fashion design under a renowned seamstress. Though their paths diverged, they still maintained their friendship. Jumoke, Lagos must be amazing, Bola said over the phone one evening. Yes, it is. Jumoke's voice bubbled with excitement. The buildings are so tall, Bola, and the opportunities here are endless. One day, you will come visit me, and I will show you everything. Bola smiled, but didn't answer. Though she was proud of Jumoke, she couldn't shake the growing feeling that her own dreams were smaller in comparison. Years passed, and the letters and calls became less frequent. Jumoke's career soared. She worked for a multinational company, and she quickly climbed the corporate ladder. Bola too began making a name for herself, designing outfits for local events. When Jumoke returned to the village for Christmas one year, she brought with her tales of the busy city. Bola, you wouldn't believe it, Jumoke exclaimed. The people, the energy, it's everything I dreamed of. And you are everything I always knew you would be, Bola replied sincerely. But as the years rolled on, the disparities in their life became harder to ignore. Jumoke lived in luxury, while Bola's success, though meaningful, felt smaller. Still, they clung to their bond. They promised each other that nothing would come between them. Jumoke's career wasn't the only thing flourishing in Lagos. Her love life too took a surprising turn when she met Ade. He was tall, confident, and had an ease about him that made people listen. Ade owned a chain of successful businesses and had a way of making Jumoke feel like she was the only woman in the world. Bola, I have to tell you something about someone, Jumoke said during a late night call with Bola, with excitement in her voice. Someone? Do you mean? Bola teased. Yes, Jumoke laughed. His name is Ade. Bola, he's so thoughtful. On our first date, he picked me in his car, and when he saw I was nervous, he played my favorite song. Can you imagine? Bola chuckled, though her heart clinched slightly. He sounds perfect, she said, trying to match Jumoke's excitement. You deserve someone like him. Months later, when Bola visited Lagos, Jumoke invited her to dinner with Ade. Ade was charming, full of jokes, and his affection for Jumoke was impossible to miss. He held her hand as they spoke and frequently looked at her like she was the only person in the room. Bola saw you are the famous designer, Ade asked, smiling warmly. Jumoke talks about you all the time. Oh, thank you. I hope they are all good things, Bola said. As the night wore on, Bola found herself stealing glances at Ade. She wasn't jealous of him specifically, but of the completeness he brought to Jumoke's life. As Bola lay on the couch in Jumoke's apartment, she stared at the ceiling and whispered to herself, will I ever have something like this? She was happy for Jumoke, truly, but that tiny seed of longing inside her was beginning to grow roots. In less than 6 months, Ade proposed to Jumoke. Jumoke and Ade's engagement became the talk of the city of Lagos. Ade spared no expenses. He made sure the wedding was the grandest event anyone had seen. Bola was tasked with designing the wedding gown, an honor she accepted with pride. Bola, I want it to be unforgettable, Jumoke said during one of their fittings. Not just for me, but for you too. This dress will be a testament to your talent. I promise you will look like royalty, Bola said with a smile. But as she walked on the gown, late into the night in her mother's bedroom, her thoughts wandered. Would she ever have a moment like this? Would anyone ever look at her the way Ade looked at Jumoke? On the wedding day, Bola stood at the back of the grand hall, watching as Jumoke walked down the aisle in the dress she had poured her heart into. The crowd gasped, and Ade's eyes glinted with tears. Bola was grinding from ear to ear, proud of her work and her friend. The truth was, her heart felt heavy. She loved Jumoke, but being surrounded with such opulence, such happiness, made her feel like an outsider looking in. That night, when Jumoke hugged her goodbye, Bola whispered, "You are so lucky." Jumoke smiled, squeezing her hand. "Your time is coming, Bola." Bola nodded, but as she walked away, the image she had tried so hard to suppress began to take shape. For the first time, she wondered if Jumoke's words were true, if her time would ever come, or if she was destined to always stand in the shadows. The first time Bola visited Jumoke's mansion after the wedding, she was struck by its grandeur. The house stood like a monument to success, with polished marble floors and walls adorned with expensive art. "Bola, it's been too long," Jumoke said, pulling her into a hug. "Come, let me show you around." As they walked through the sprawling rooms, Bola tried to mask her growing feelings of inadequacy. She admired the beauty of the house, the designer furniture, and the massive garden with flowers imported from abroad. But each corner of the house reminded her of the gap between their lives. "You've done so well, Jumoke," Bola said, forcing a smile. "This house is perfect." Jumoke grinned. "It's all Ade. He's such a blessing." Jumoke continued to gist Bola without hiding any information. She spoke about her plans to travel with Ade and possibly start a family. "You are so lucky, Jumoke," Bola said, her voice softer than usual. "You have everything." Jumoke turned to her. "Bola, you are doing amazing too. Your designs are getting noticed. It's just a matter of time before you have all these and more." "I hope so," Bola said as she gave a faint smile. Later that night, when Bola got to her house, Bola's envy grew. She looked around at her simple furniture and thought about the life Jumoke was living, a life she once believed they would both share in different ways. How did this happen? How did she get everything while I'm still here? We grew up together, and now she's better than me. And for the first time, a small voice in her mind whispered to her, maybe it's not fair. Over the next few months, Jumoke began to notice subtle changes in Bola's behavior. During their phone calls, Bola's tone was sharper, her laughter less genuine, but Jumoke chose to ignore it, attributing it to stress. but the distance between them continued to grow. One day, Jumoke invited Bola again over for lunch, hoping to reconnect with her again. As they ate, Jumoke shared exciting news about a new promotion that they had received. "I have something else to tell you, Bola," Jumoke said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I'm pregnant. Ade and I are having a baby." "That's great. It must be nice to have everything handed to you," Bola replied. Jumoke blinked. "What do you mean?" Bola quickly recovered, laughing it off. "Oh, nothing. Just that it's easier when you are already so blessed." Jumoke frowned slightly, but decided not to press the issue. She brushed it off and continued speaking about her excitement for the future. "Ade and I are planning to take a long vacation after the baby is born. He promised me we would travel the world, just the three of us. Can you imagine that? I can't wait to see Paris, the Maldives, New York. It's everything I've dreamed of." Later, as they said their goodbyes, Bola hugged her tightly. "I'm happy for you, Jumoke. I really am." Bola felt a sting of anger inside her. Every time she saw Jumoke's happiness, it felt the nagging voice in her head that said, "Why not you? Why are you still here waiting for your moment?" One morning, after scrolling through Jumoke's social media posts, filled with pictures of vacations, fancy dinners, and love-filled captions, Bola slammed her phone down. "She has it all, and I have nothing," she muttered to herself. The jealousy Bola felt towards Jumoke transferred into something more insidious. At first, it was just idle thoughts, brief fantasies of swapping places Jumoke and imagining a life without her shadow. But as time passed, those thoughts grew into plans. One day, Bola and Jumoke met for lunch at a luxurious restaurant in Lagos. Jumoke, as usual, looked radiant and elegant. "Bola, I've been thinking," Jumoke said, leaning forward. "I want to help you expand your business. With Ade's connections and support, we can take your designs international." Bola smiled, but her mind was elsewhere. Jumoke's offer, though well-meaning, felt like charity. She hated feeling like she needed Jumoke to save her. "That's kind of you, Jumoke," Bola said, keeping her tone even. "Let me think about it." As they parted ways, Bola replayed the conversation in her mind. She felt humiliated, as though Jumoke was the star of a play, and she, Bola, was just a supporting character. That night, Bola sat at her sewing table, staring at a picture of her and Jumoke from their childhood. "I deserve more. This isn't jealousy. It's justice. I deserve better." From that night, Bola's plans became deliberate. She began inviting Jumoke over more often, rekindling their bond to make sure Jumoke wouldn't suspect a thing. The warmth in her voice, the kindness in her gestures, all of it became part of her act. Jumoke welcomed the renewed closeness. To her, it was just her best friend coming back. But for Bola, it was the first step in a dark and irreversible journey. Bola invited Jumoke over for dinner one Friday evening. "It's been too long since we had a proper girls' night," Bola said over the phone. "I'm cooking your favorite, egusi soup with pounded yam." "Ah, Bola, you know how to spoil me," Jumoke laughed. "I'll be there by 7. Bola spent the day meticulously preparing. The soup smelled divine, and the pounded yam was soft and perfect, just the way Jumoke likes it. Hidden behind a jar of spices was a small veil of clear liquid, her deadly ingredient. When Jumoke arrived, the room was filled with laughter and warmth. They reminisced about their childhood. "Do you remember when we used to race to the mango tree?" Jumoke asked, laughing. "You always cheated." "Me? Cheat? Never," Bola replied, grinning. She handed Jumoke a steaming bowl of soup. "Here, text this. Tell me if I have still got the magic touch." Jumoke took a bite and closed her eyes in delight. Bola, this is perfect. You haven't lost your touch at all. Bola watched her eat, her heart pounding. She tried to focus on the conversation, but her mind was racing. Would it work? Would anyone suspect? The evening passed in a blur of laughter and memories. As Jumoke prepared to leave, she hugged Bola tightly. Thank you, Bola. Tonight was just what I needed. Anything for you, dear best friend. Bola replied. When the door closed behind Jumoke, Bola jumped into the couch, her heart filled with joy. She stared at the empty dishes on the table, the weight of what she had done pressing down on her. She thinks she's better than me. Let's see who has the last laugh now. Foolish girl. Jumoke's death came as a shock to everyone who knew her. Early the next morning, Ade called Bola, his voice shaking. Bola, Bola, Jumoke didn't wake up. He said, choking in his words. What? Bola gasped, clutching her phone. No, that's not possible. She was fine last night. We laughed. She was happy. She was, Ade said, his voice breaking. But the doctors don't know what happened. They said it could have been a heart attack or something sudden. Bola, I can't believe she's gone. Bola held the phone to her ear and wailed pretentiously. I'm coming over, she whispered. I will be there soon. When Bola arrived at Ade's mansion, the house was in chaos. Jumoke's family members were gathered, crying and consoling one another. Bola hugged Ade tightly, his sword muffled against her shoulder. She didn't deserve this. She had so much ahead of her. I know, Bola said. Oh, my best friend, what happened to you? Bola wailed and rolled on the floor. Throughout the day, Bola played her role as the grieving best friend. She helped organize the funeral arrangements, comforted Jumoke's family, and stayed close to Ade. Every now and then, someone would say, thank God Jumoke had a friend like you, Bola. In the weeks after Jumoke's death, Bola became a constant presence in Ade's life. She told herself it was to honor Jumoke, but deep inside her heart, she knew it was part of her plan. Ade, you need to eat, Bola said one afternoon. Bring him a plate of rice and stew. I can't, Bola. Everything feels so empty, he said, staring at the plate. You have to stay strong, she said, sitting beside him. Jumoke wouldn't want you to waste away like this. Ade looked at her. His eyes tired. You are right. She would want me to keep going. But it's so hard. She was my everything. Bola placed a hand on his shoulder. And she would be so proud of you for carrying on. I'm here for you, Ade. I'm always here for you. Days turned into weeks, and Ade began leaning on Bola more. She helped him organize Jumoke's belongings, often finding reasons to linger in the house. With each visit, she ingrained herself deeper into his life. One evening, as he sifted through old photo albums, Ade smiled faintly. She always said you were like her sister. She was my sister too, Bola replied, and I will always be here to honor her. Ade nodded, his eyes brimming with gratitude. Thank you, Bola. I don't know what I would do without you. As he reached out to hold her hand, Bola felt fulfilled. This is what she has always wanted. Kill Jumoke and marry Ade. A few weeks later, Ade proposed to Bola, and their wedding was a quiet affair, a stark contrast to the grand celebration Jumoke had enjoyed. Bola wore a gown of her own design, simple yet elegant. As she walked down the aisle, she felt a surge of pride. She had finally stepped into the life she had always envied. At first, Bola's new life felt like a dream. She wore the finest clothes, attended high society events, and enjoyed the privilege of being Ade's wife. People admired and praised her resilience. But at night, when the night was quiet and Ade slept soundly beside her, Bola's thoughts betrayed her. Memories of Jumoke haunted her. Her laughter, her kindness, the trust she had placed in Bola. But who cares? She has gotten all that she has always wanted, and that's all that mattered to her. The moral of this story is taken from the book of Matthew 4 verse 36, and it says, "And a man's foes shall be they of his own household." This story teaches us to be careful with who we trust and don't overshare our good news with people. Thank you so much for watching. Please tell me what you think of this story in the comment section. And if you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe for more stories.